Okay, I think we're about ready to get started. I'm going to start us off with Ms. Dawn Smith, our President and CEO here at One West. Thank you and welcome to our webinar.
Good morning, everyone. We are so glad that you could join us. Welcome to the Minority Business Enterprise Contractors Conference. We have a host of fantastic panelists for you today, and this is the second conference in a series of education sessions that we hope to bring forward to the community as it relates to design, construction, and supply side services. We want to make sure that we are engaging the broader community as to make sure that we are collaborating and working together to build the industry for our minority businesses. What is going to be very instrumental is that we're going to announce two main things that are kicking off and getting started in the West End, and we want to make sure that the broader community is aware and that everyone knows how to get engaged with these two initiatives as they move forward. Without further delay, we're going to go right into our slideshow. All right. We are going to introduce today the One West Plan Room and Minority Contractors Association of Kentuckiana. We are very excited because today we have with us a number of folks that we are going to introduce to you that are experts in the field. We welcome the audience and we ask that you put your questions in the chat room and we will address your questions as we move through. We will be done with this webinar at approximately 11:30, and we hope that everyone keeps an open mind as we move through this information. But just remember, we will have a series of conferences referencing a number of different pieces of information. So you will have numerous ways to get involved. We will also share contact information so that you know how to reach out to the panelists that you hear today. Basically, we're going to present to you the One West Plan Room, which is focused on minority business enterprises that work in the design and construction area. We are going to have panel number 1, which is going to focus on the plan room, and panel number 2, which will focus on Minority Contractors Association of Kentuckiana. One West is not the originator of the Minority Contractors Association. The actual founders of that organization will be presented today. We're very excited about that, but they are definitely a collaborating organization, and we look forward to continuing to engage in mutual beneficial activities. We will have the Q&A function, as I mentioned, in the chat room. We will respond. The panelists will be able to respond. We'll give them some of your questions. We'll try to get to as many as we can. The panelist bios are available online, so please go to onewest.org/news and click story, news stories, so you can see their bios. Also, the panelist contact information will be made available and there will be a recording. We are on Facebook Live for today. Now, the plan room, the West End Small Business Resource Center. Why do we need a plan room? Because this is an accelerator for people in the construction trades. We want to make sure that as we hear about projects across the city, and especially in the West End, that we are utilizing as many West End businesses as possible, whether it relates to general contracting, design, supply side, all of the areas, the labor force. We want to make sure that we're utilizing as many West End folks as possible. We want the $1 billion in projects that the mayor talks about to be able to absorb as many West End folks as possible. We want these, the construction industry to be a means by which people can build wealth. And if we do it right, it's very possible. We are going to have a collaborative space with technology and construction resources. We're going to make sure that, and as much as we can, that we help to reduce barriers to inclusion in projects where minority business enterprises can play a bigger role. We want to be an information clearinghouse. We're going to help business growth by supporting them with technical and construction related support. We want to make sure, and as much as possible, that we are helping to pull together capacity building resources for those contractors. So a contractor that's doing $50,000 in construction today, we want to make sure that they're positioned to do 100,000 tomorrow, and then 200 and 300,000, and so forth. And that only happens by helping people to scale up. This is not my first rodeo in providing construction resource centers. This is actually about the fifth one that I've done, 4 in North Carolina and then now here. And I'm very excited because hopefully we'll make the One West Plan Room benefit from all the learnings and the mistakes of the past. But I will say that I'm very proud to say in North Carolina, we were very successful in helping numerous businesses stand up and move forward. And we are very proud of the folks that have advanced their businesses and grown their companies 10 to 100% over where they were when they first started. One of our youngest contractors is now one of the leading contractors in Winston-Salem, and doing a significant amount of work relative to North Carolina contracts. In our design firms, we can say the same thing. Those that were a part of the advocacy and helping to grow collectively a concentrated effort through the resource center, as well as working with us on the advocacy side, they are now seeing the fruits of their labor. I love it when I get the phone calls and people say to me, Miss Yvonne, you would not believe. I always know that's an indicator someone's moved to the next level. One of my favorite is when a minority contractor called me and said, Miss Yvonne, I'm no longer working on my kids and my grandkids. My wealth building now is targeted toward my great-grands. That is where we want to be. We want this to be multi-generational impact. And I just have to give a shout out to the board of One West. None of this would be possible had the board not been very collaborative, very open, and stayed at the table to push forward for the wealth creation strategies. I also want to give a big shout out to our chairwoman, Ms. Nikki Lanier. I hope she's on the line. Her leadership has afforded us the ability to truly do the community development aspect of community economic development. And you all will learn more about why that's important as we move forward. The other thing, we want you to know that the design folks are welcome at this construction resource center, because if the designer on a project does not know to be inclusive and to think about how they design the project to ensure that smaller companies can participate, you start to have problems with the bid process. So then a GC can actually say, hey, I can't break the project up because of the bonding or the insurance. He can't spread it across possibly to someone else's business. He is liable and responsible for that which he signs on the dotted line for. So we have to know that if the designer doesn't break up the project properly, then ultimately you may not gain inclusion. At the helm of every single project, inclusion only happens if the owner of the project mandates it. If the owner of the project is intentional about ensuring the project starts out with a mandate for inclusion and diversity. And how that happens, then it matriculates to the designer and the engineers and all those folks who are planning the project. So I just want to make sure that we use the accelerator, the plan room, as a means by which we can help other owners to think very intentionally about their projects. And then we want to make sure procurement on the supply side and service side, that they are a part of this, because they are an important and integral part to everything that happens as well. We don't want to forget that where you buy or where you buy the products for your projects is just as important as the labor force and the contractors that you hire. All right, we want to also get into projects with public funding, typically require higher MBE participation. You all ever heard of the good faith effort? Well, the good faith effort is usually where folks indicate how they tried to get participation. Well, we want the plan room to be an integral part of how they get the participation. So we want to make sure that we have the people and the resources and the information readily available to make sure that we can help owners of projects get the participation, not just make an effort. I want to give a shout out to Tawana Bain and the Minority Diversity Program, DBS, because they are an integral part of the supply side, whether it be for small businesses or minority businesses in any arena. I know they work significantly on the Derby, but there are also suppliers that are a part of their network that can be utilized in projects across the city. So we just want to give a shout out to Tawana Bain and all the good work she's doing with JEDI and the supply side. The other thing to let you know is Louisville firms with inclusive or MBE models are more competitive regionally. So we want to make sure that prime companies or majority firms are thinking about their MBE models early, so that not just doing inclusion on government related projects, but doing inclusion on the private side as well. Now, you don't want to go shouting a certain percentage on a project if you don't know that we have availability in the minority business community and within that trade. So that's another area that we're going to be bringing forth information, and Eddie Dunn and the association folks are going to be critical in that, because we want to make sure that we're marrying time, talent, and capacity to these projects so that we don't push for something we're not prepared to supply talent for. So we want to make sure that we work collaboratively so that everyone can be successful. It's not a us and them, it's a we. The Louisville construction market is smaller than the regional market, so therefore we want to build locally so that ultimately we can all get a piece of the bigger pie, which is the regional construction market. And that's how we can move forward in a collaborative manner, is growing our local firms in order to get them prepared to do more regionally. During COVID-19 pandemic, unemployment is rising faster for people of color. Folks, if we get this piece worked out, we should be able to pick up folks in the construction industry and help them to get plugged back into the economic cycle and be successful. We want you to be able to spend some time on this data because it's very important and it is relative to what we're experiencing here in the marketplace. Next, I want to make sure that you know we're dedicating, One West is dedicating a physical space to the plan room. So you will see right on Broadway an announcement very soon that we are going to have a space for the plan room. We want our contractors to be able to have a centralized location to come, have access to high-speed Wi-Fi to make sure that they can do takeoffs and that they will have an expert team of advisors in place. We want to marry them up to mentors and make sure that they have folks who can help them sidestep the different potholes in the industry. We want folks to be able to work on getting their fine-tuning their team in relation to their skill sets to make sure that they are doing the very best work possible. If they need a retraining, that we're helping to get them trained. This is company training that we're talking about. We're not talking about an individual. We're talking about the company and helping the company to scale up. So we are going to use the accelerator to try to help those companies to grow. And we want our companies to be looking at the Urban Leagues program where they're training individuals so we can get those individuals, once they're trained, plugged in as much as possible. And so our idea is we did not want to move forward in development without having the community that we want to impact the most at the table. So that is why this is extremely important, because One West is influential. Either we own or are a part of at least 200,000 square feet of commercial property that is getting ready to get underway with revitalization. So we want to make sure we can have as much local support and participation as possible. And I will tell you in a little bit about the partners that are at the table with us. We're going to be covering in the programming how to respond to bids, managing project correspondence, managing subcontractors, technology support, how to track bids, employee management, 3D software training, blueprint reading, takeoffs, scheduling, licensing, network and partnerships, MBE certification partners, business capacity building partners. We are not getting in the business of human resources. What we're going to do is have a partner come to the table that can help minority businesses work on that. We're not getting in the business of certification. We're going to have partners that are in that business. And we want to make sure our companies can get through their process as quickly as possible so they can be eligible for the different projects that are coming down the pipe. There are a lot of pieces to this puzzle that folks are not aware of. On federal projects, there may be Section 3 and Davis-Bacon that apply to different projects. We want to make sure our contractors are aware, ready to participate, and educated about the procedures that are required. We will do more city-to-city peer networking. We will make sure that folks are aware of planning and zoning. What's not on here that we will also make sure our contractors are aware of is we want to make sure they know when they go into a project what the environmental requirements are, so that they don't price a project excluding that, and they could end up upside down in their project because they didn't allow for those kinds of costs. So those are some of the things we're going to be putting on the table with the plan room. These are some of the plan room partners. We are happy today that LCCC is on the line. Mr. Kevin Fields, who's been supportive since day one. 7 p.m. group called Brazley is on the line. They have been extremely supportive as well. They're doing project management for projects around the city. And so having them at the table is going to be critical because they will know what owners of projects are looking for. And so they will be the best advisors to work with us on this. KPFF, we're excited about that, their firm being involved. They're going to be running the BIM program at the plan room. So that's going to be exciting. You'll hear more about BIM in just a minute. University of Louisville is with us today, and we are very excited about that as well, because when you bring the younger talent to the table, you start the next generation getting involved. And so you'll hear more from Dee Meridian as we move forward. This is just a quick look at who's involved and the roles that they'll be playing in the plan room. And we just want to make sure that you all will know who our partners are and know that this is a collaborative effort. We will tell you more about some of our collaborative partners on the procurement side, but we just want to make sure that you all know without these partners, this wouldn't be possible. So we're extremely appreciative. The roles will be changing as we move forward because we're going to be responsive to the needs of the contractors.
Advanced computer programs allow building design professionals to model their work in 3D more accurately every day. These types of programs are called Building Information Modeling, or BIM. In order to help satisfy the demand for BIM professionals, One West is teaming up with local engineering firm KPFF and several other partners to create a training institute for members of the West End communities. The BIM training program of the One West Plan Room will provide people with applicable skills and supply a locally grown talent pipeline to the area's already top-notch architecture, engineering, and construction companies. As Louisville continues to grow, especially in the healthcare, technology, and hospitality sectors, the graduates of this program will have an opportunity to be involved in shaping the city's skyline.
Okay, so if you guys can hear me okay, you'll see that that program is going to be exciting. It's going to be a new way for young people who maybe thought they had to go to a four-year university in order to get involved in BIM or to get involved in architecture, will now be able to actually get certification through this program. And KPFF, we can't thank you enough, Greg Bukala, for all of your help and your innovative ideas around this. So there was an alignment of interest there, and we are just so excited for you being on the team. This is a real clear look of some of the partners that are already at the table. We don't want the contractors to get all of this great knowledge and access and not have financing lined up or have financing access or opportunities. And so we already have Access Ventures, Community Ventures, L Home and Liberty Bank, Park Community Credit Union, Wood Forest National Bank. LCCC has been bringing Wood Forest along throughout the entire small business capacity building and knowledge building initiatives that they have been hosting. And so we're just really excited to have Wood Forest as a partner in this, and Park Community Credit Union has definitely stepped up to do more in the community. So we want all of these resources to be available. We have the major banks. We'll be talking more about them as we move forward. And I think there's currently a reset going on. I know Nikki Lanier is working with the banks on what they can do in order to help minority businesses continue to grow. There's a reset, which means that everyone is looking at their particular lending practices to see where they can break down systemic issues of oppression and or challenges and barriers. So we have to help everybody that we have access to or relationships with, all of us do, to just inform them on what has been a challenge for you. And this is one place that we think the plan room is one place where we can start doing that comprehensive list so that folks can begin to understand, hey, how can I help? How can I change things? We want our economic impact to be much greater than it was pre-COVID. So help us to lean into that. Technical assistance partners, we want you to know who's at the table. Again, I can't say enough about U of L. We want our businesses to get positioned to be a part of NOR. We think NOR is important. It's going to be a huge advocacy resource in the community. And so we just want to make sure everybody is aware of that. And then we also want you all to use the City of Louisville's Small Business and Economic Development page. They have a number of resources. Business plan partners, please take a look at the folks that we've been working with. They've already been presenting under our young entrepreneurs, under Donovan Taylor's leadership. So our young entrepreneurs have been meeting for over a year, and we had in that group a number of contractors, which helped us to know through the contractors and developers that were showing up every month for those meetings, we knew that there was a real opportunity here. Project stakeholders already working with us on procurement policies are the groups that are listed here, which is huge because we have met to talk about how we could have a greater impact. And those meetings occurred almost a year ago. And so we just want you all to know that people are being very intentional about leaning in. Now, that doesn't mean we know everything. So there will be an opportunity to have a good cross-section sharing of information so that we can do a better job of making sure that the impact is significant and that it's multi-generational. That is huge in the construction area. Building wealth does happen to some degree with purchasing a home, but we know significant wealth creation can happen on the business development side. So we want to position these companies for sustainability. This is just a quick graph to help you understand the idea that we have around how you harness the buying power of multiple stakeholders to ensure you have multi-generational wealth creation. We want to have a stronger contractor resource pipeline. We want our young people to be able to get the training they need in the trades to be able to participate with these companies as they grow. We want our companies to be able to collaborate with larger firms and with majority firms. We don't want it to be rocket science for a company to say, hey, we should probably joint venture, or hey, we might need to develop a mentor protege, or hey, why not look at an apprenticeship program? These are all things we want to make it easy for folks to do. And we've been able to garner a wonderful relationship with Frost Brown Todd, who has brought to the table US Bank, and US Bank has already been deploying people to work with our minority contractors. Here's the team for panel one, sorry, the plan room. That I just presented to you, and now we're going to go into the panelists that you'll be meeting with for panel one. Before we go into that, I want to make sure I let you all know we've had a recent not a new hire, but actually a promotion for Emily Batali. Emily Batali is now our business development director, and we are extremely proud of her because Emily started as a U of L intern with One West, and she has moved up the ranks. She is extremely knowledgeable and has been a critical part of our team. I want you to know that she is going to be working directly with our small businesses to help bring more resources to the plan room, but she will also be working with those businesses as we look to identify spaces for them. One of the things that One West does is, as we talk about retail and commercial building development, it's not just from the standpoint of trying to renovate buildings. It's really about how do we provide spaces and places for our small businesses so that they can afford to locate in these places. One of the issues that people don't tend to realize is that the footprint or the physical fabric of buildings across the West End are older model buildings, and therefore, and in many cases, historic. And therefore, small businesses don't tend to have the money or resources to not only acquire, but to repair, and then ultimately to own and fix up those buildings. We are that vehicle to help do that. So in many cases, we're working with small businesses so that they can maintain or own the places and spaces that they operate out of. There are other places and spaces that are directly linked to significant traffic. So clientele traffic is important for their business success. So where they can't own, we are also working with them to maintain the spaces that they're in and to help them build their businesses. And Emily's going to be significant in working with that business population to help them build capacity. Emily, thank you for hosting this next session, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Ms. Yvonne. And my apologies, I mixed up the facilitators on the slides. I hope you all don't mind too terribly much, but I wanted to begin by introducing some of our panelists who will be speaking. So if you gentlemen don't mind, in the order that you're listed here, we'll start with Carl, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm boring for the most part, but I've been in this business for a long time and just really excited about the plan room and all the opportunities that it presents. You know, for some time we've needed something like this in Louisville, so just super excited to be a part of the team.
Fantastic. And Greg, can you tell us about KPFM?
Sure. I'm Greg Bucola. I am a structural engineer, and I have a practice downtown. There's about 22 folks, and we design buildings, and we are happy and delighted and humbled to be part of the seed for creating this plan room and with our first program, and we'll see where it goes. We're really excited to be part of it and to make the investment in this endeavor.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you on board. Kevin, Mr. Fields? I think you might have an audio issue. We're not able to hear you.
How's that?
Much better, thank you.
Okay, I was on the wrong mic. Good morning, everybody. I'm Kevin Fields. I'm CEO of Louisville Central Community Center. I certainly want to start by congratulating One West for this historic day, this announcement of the plan room. We all know that it means so much to have resources that to empower, you know, our entrepreneurs, our minority and women-owned businesses. So I'm excited about that. But just to tell you a little bit about me, approaching a 40-year career in engineering, community development, organizational leadership. Excited about everything that's happening in West Louisville. So I look forward to being a part of this panel and sharing more information.
Excellent, thank you for joining us. Bobby Garrett?
Got to make sure we get those L's up in the screen. Hey, I'm Bobby Garrett. I'm the associate professor, Brown and Williams, and associate professor of entrepreneurship in the College of Business. I've been studying entrepreneurship and specifically corporate entrepreneurship since about 2004. So it's been a while that I've been at this academic lifestyle. My background is with ExxonMobil as a chemical engineer. I'm very excited to be a part of this. Entrepreneurship has been an imperative for corporations and for startups for generations. Right? We all know that in order to survive and thrive in this environment, we've got to be innovative, adaptable, flexible, and we've got to be entrepreneurial. So the Fork Center is here to support those efforts, not only for our students in our curriculum, but of course, in the broader community, right, to help organizations like this, and I'm excited to be a part of it. Thanks for having me out today.
Absolutely. Entrepreneurship is certainly key in this endeavor. And we also have from the University of Louisville, Dean Todd Moradian for the College of Business.
Emily, thank you for having us. And I want to say how proud we are of you. This meeting has been as better run than any meeting I've been in since March when we all went into this. And then to know that you are a proud Cardinal. The College of Business, as Greg said, it's humbling to be here as an individual. But let me tell you something about the College of Business. It's owned by the community. It's yours. We are temporarily charged with managing it and offering its educational value, but it belongs to the community. And so it's just terrific to join with One West in looking at this opportunity to work with tradesmen, create opportunities. There are some questions coming up that I'll talk about the things that we're doing, but most importantly, we are thrilled to be joining with One West to change the world.
Well, thank you. Thanks for all of your hard work on that front. And last but certainly not least, we have a One West board representative on the line, Mr. Donovan Taylor. I think, yeah, there you go.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Donovan Taylor. I am a native of West Louisville, legal professional in the city, and a board member of One West and chairperson of the One West Young Entrepreneurs Committee. As Ms. Yvonne had alluded to earlier, that we have been meeting over a year with young entrepreneurs and businesses within West Louisville. We gathered probably over 70 businesses that we work with monthly that fill our rooms and our meetings. And I'm so glad that this particular planning room and event here is really kind of designed from the calls and wants of those individual businesses that attend our meetings. Over half of those businesses are contractors or within the contract business. And so this definitely works well to answer that and build those businesses and expand this. And I'm just very excited to be a part of this movement.
Well, thank you, and thank you for everything that you do as a volunteer board member with One West. While we're talking about the Young Entrepreneurs Group, as you mentioned, you've been meeting for over a year. You've really been getting into the needs and the types of resources that these businesses need. Can you talk about the demand that you've seen for small business resources, and particularly from the contractors that you're working with in the Young Entrepreneurs Group?
I mean, one of the, there's, very concerned. One of the main concerns, a lot of them, you have new formed businesses as well as individuals who are interested to get into the business. So the first thing is how do I get started and how do I get sustainability on guiding and building my business is the first thing. With that interest, if you have those existing businesses, the main thing is always capital and financing, accounting, financing, and bookkeeping. Their back administration is something that they need. Definitely a contract negotiating and bidding. It was a major call for a lot of the businesses that were involved in the Young Entrepreneurs Committee, and as well as just market and industry resource and resources that they can use to improve their businesses.
That sounds fairly much in line with what we're hearing. We have businesses or interested business folks walking in the door. I do want to take the same question over to Carl Brazeley with the 7 p.m. group. Carl, I know that the 7 p.m. group works with more established firms as well as the entrants to the construction field. So would you say that the capacity needs and the types of resources that minority businesses are looking for changes as they develop and become more established in their field?
Thanks, Emily. To some degree, but not really. You know, to run a business well, you always need some of the same type of resources. You need access to capital, you need your professional services, you need to have opportunities to be inclusive into opportunities. And regardless whether you are a small startup or you are a well-established business, those same type of resources are always needed. And you know, one of the things that we've looked at is really just trying to really narrow in on some of the specifics. That every company doesn't need the same thing, or they don't need it to the same level of degree. And so it's really important that you have opportunities like the plan room that can tailor those opportunities to the individual company. You know, sometimes it's a bonding need. It may not be a professional service like that help with your business plan. And then other times it might just be, you know, those growth opportunities. Young companies are growing, they're looking at where their next steps are, and they might need other opportunities as well. So, you know, you always need access to those type of resources that can help you plan, plot, and move your business forward, you know, pair where you are in your growth cycle. So, you know, one of the things that I'm super excited about is that the plan room is taking this holistic view and it's partnering with various different entities within the community, because that's how you become strong. And so, you know, different entities at different times can bring different services. You know, one time you might need LCCC, the next time you might need services of the Urban League or another entity. And, you know, we love our university. University of Louisville is a wealth of resources. And so I don't think that we take advantage of it enough. So with them being a partner, hopefully everyone will realize the resources they are. And, you know, we can take more advantage of all the opportunities that the university provides as well.
Absolutely, and we certainly know that the 7 p.m. group in particular has a long history in the city of supporting minority contractors and helping to connect them to resources and on an individual basis. And we're certainly grateful for all the work that you've done and leading the way, and glad that you're partnering on the plan room. It's going to help us provide really high quality education and training for anyone interested. But you also did mention the University of Louisville. So, Bobby, I wanted to ask you about the entrepreneurship landscape that we have here in Louisville. In particular, how could something like the Plan Room fit into the Louisville Community Entrepreneurship Network?
That's a great question. So, you know, there's this old view of universities and how they operate. And I really want to make sure I set this up as the old view, because it's not the view that I hold to or that our dean holds to. And the view is that universities are exclusionary, right? And that we do our own things and we pursue our own research and we focus on our own students, and that's it. And really the right model for a university is what our dean alluded to a few minutes ago, that we are owned by the community and we're here to support the community, right? And so I took leadership of the Forks Center a little less than a year ago. And Todd Meridian is still, pardon me, kind of a new dean, but a very exciting dean who's doing a lot of great stuff for our school. And so how does the university position itself to be a resource for the community? By making sure that those thought barriers are broken down and that we're no longer perceived to be an exclusionary place. There's a second part to this answer, though, that I think is also critically important. Entrepreneurship has traditionally been held in the mindset of, I have to know what my opportunity is in the future, and then I need to establish a list of resources that I need to pursue that opportunity. Almost like a shopping list. I've got to go out and procure those items so that I can pursue one specific opportunity. And that's not the way entrepreneurship is either. Starting a new business, irrespective of the context, and it's particularly true in contracting and subcontracting, you don't look at the opportunity first, you look at your current resources first. And you say, what can I do with these resources? And you combine them in a variety of ways to allow you to pursue multiple opportunities that you create, as opposed to one opportunity that you predict. It's incredibly difficult to predict opportunities. None of us would have predicted where we'd be today because the environment changes so quickly and so dramatically. But what we can do is harness our resources together as a community and arrange them into a variety of combinations that allow us to be better prepared to create our own opportunities instead of waiting for any one of us to be able to predict one opportunity.
Absolutely, and I think that's a big part of why we've brought in the University of Louisville as a partner on the Plan Room, in addition to the other fantastic panelists who we have this morning, because if you're only looking at it from one particular perspective, you miss all the gaps that might be in the entrepreneurial landscape. And I think that's something that we hope the plan room can address.
Sure.
Speaking of what a contractor specifically would need and what some of those gaps currently are in our entrepreneurial landscape, I wanted to ask a question for Greg from KPFF. So, and Carl, you may be able to weigh in on this question as well. You both work with a lot of other contractors in your day-to-day business. Of course, when you're looking at bids that have come in, or when you're preparing a bid yourself, you have certain baseline items like administration and paperwork needs, like your bid paperwork and financial statements. But what are some things that the plan room could help to promote or provide for contractors that can help to set a contractor candidate above and beyond the rest? So if you're applying for a construction or a design contract, what can you really do to stand out in the field?
Yeah, so my experience is that there's a lot of subcontractors who are invited to propose on a project, or they want to go after something, and they show up, they go to the pre-bid, or they meet somebody, and then they respond with an email or a handshake or something pretty informal. And I think the plan room, what we can do is help with templates and assets that these subcontractors can use to increase the trust, stability, and confidence that the general contractors and owners would have in these subs, so that they can win more work. And I've seen some submittals and bids that were not the lowest that were awarded because of the confidence that the GC or the owner had in the quality of their submission and the thoroughness. It's complete and comprehensive. And so I think I see the plan room helping in that regard. I don't know if Carl agrees with that, or maybe it's something else to add.
No, definitely, Greg. And I got my start in this industry. My brother's a licensed architect and has a PhD in urban planning. And so, believe me, I'm the younger brother. He's the older brother, so I've been around him forever. And I'll go get the coffee for the most part. But I listened and I learned a lot. And kind of what I'm saying from there is just having access to people like Greg and his company, man, goes a long way. Emily, you talked earlier about mentorship and those opportunities. You can learn a lot by just being in the room. You can learn a lot by being around the designers who are working with the owners. And so they have an idea and a feel for how projects should go. And so I would invite every contractor, regardless of whether you're supplying goods and services or you have specific skill sets, you would want to talk to the professional service folks. You want to talk to the engineers. You want to talk to the architects and designers. And if an opportunity, you even want to hear from the owners, because they take great pride. These are their babies, and so they want professionals who are working on them who are in sync and on the same page as them. So one of the things that we've done at 7 p.m., we believe in the theory of functional integration. Basically, in short, that talks about understanding and working within your ecosystem. And so the plan room is now that ecosystem. And it seems like that, one of the things that excites me is that you would want to really be knowledgeable about everybody within your ecosystem. If you look at the panel members and all the resources, and I can't overemphasize enough that One West has done a great job at bringing a diverse set of partners and expertise and plans to the room. You may have missed it, but Kevin Fields has a background in engineering. The university has a whole entrepreneurial school that's one of the best in the country, and engineering school that's one of the best in the country. And you have professionals like John Hill, and the wealth of opportunity. And one of the things I'm hoping is that we don't miss that. There's opportunity. So there's so much to learn, so much to gain. Don't think that it's all in one box. While you can learn a lot by going to the university, there's other opportunities you can learn as well. So I'm hoping that there will be relationships built, there will be mentorships built, and that's how you can really gain access to opportunity. That's when you started to understanding how you become part of new projects. And at the end of the day, we all want to make money. We all want to grow our community. And as I think Yvonne started off with, that's done together. So, the old adage, you can run fast by yourself, but you can run far, you know, with a group or with help or with other people. So I'm hoping this is something that is started, that we run far, not just, and fast, but definitely we want to run far.
No, absolutely. And in terms of that collaboration, that consideration of equity and inclusion, I actually have a question I'd like to pose to two of our panelists today, Mr. Kevin Fields and Dean Todd Moradian. We talk a lot about equity and inclusion practices. So when it comes to thinking about being an inclusive entity, I'm going to ask you, Kevin, because of LCCC's status as a business incubator, what is the role of a business accelerator when it comes to these practices? And Todd, I'd like to ask you, what is the role of a owner? So as an educational institution, the university has a lot of opportunities for procurement. So I'd like to ask both of you how you can fit in the concepts of equity and inclusion into the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Emily. And I want to get to your question, but first I want to celebrate the moment here because, you know, as a leader of a community organization, I want to celebrate community. And I'm really excited and I really love what I see today happening under the leadership of One West. And let me start, Emily, by congratulating you because, you know, I've watched you emerge as a leader, and to know that you're taking on a key leadership role at One West really excites me. Because a part of what we do as a community-based organization is develop talent, develop leadership. And when I see what One West has done in bringing you from the University of Louisville, which Dean, I'm also a Cardinal too, I'm excited about that. So the role of an accelerator has really been talked about already. And, you know, Louisville has a history, a strong history in these kinds of initiatives, but I will say there has been some divestment over the recent years in things like, you know, what we used to have at the NIA Center with the Louisville Enterprise Group, ran by a good friend of mine, Sharon Johnson, and Pedro Bryant, Community Development Bank. You know, a lot of what has happened with the Kentucky Minority Business Development Center, that used to be there, the council that was there. And all of those initiatives over the years have been aimed at cultivating and empowering minority and women-owned businesses. So we've lost some ground, but I'm excited about Yvonne's leadership because, you know, this plan room concept that she gave birth to is a great example of community organizing for her to bring all the resources together. And that's what, you know, an accelerator does, is it creates an ecosystem for businesses to have a place to go. And, you know, from a community standpoint, it's great to have multiple places to go. And it's great when those resources are being coordinated for common goals. And so that's why I see the value in this plan room concept, because Yvonne obviously has done the work with organizing the community, bringing the resources together, giving us a common lens to look through and to work through. And I'm excited about that. But, you know, the accelerator becomes that place that nurtures, and I love what Greg said, it was Robert who actually said that you don't actually have to have a business plan to become an entrepreneur, but you can go to a place, a resource center, and get the support and get nurtured to create that. Because we must say, in the Black community especially, that we're at a deficit when it comes to having the kind of the strength in numbers of strong, active, minority-owned, Black-owned businesses that are thriving. And so we think that we're building those systems in place. We're excited about the work we're doing at Old Walnut Street. We have a 20,000 square foot business incubator there. So you have office space, you have access to training, you have networking opportunities, and, you know, a lot of what businesses need is to be around other business leaders like themselves. And, you know, having this plan room is an example of that. I also want to mention my dear friend, Carl Bracely. You know, Carl and I go back over 40 years, and by having Carl at the table and he and Vincel at 7 p.m., you know, I know we're on the right track, because all the experiences that we could ever imagine have already been experienced by people like Carl. who have grown from Mo Better Marketing to New West, and then has emerged with 7 p.m. and has been getting stronger and stronger. But he does it because he understands how to navigate and leverage resources, and he's certainly very talented. But I'm also really excited about John Hilliard. John and I go back some 20 years. I met John, and many who may not know John, he's the guy who built the Ali Center. And I met him at the time that he was doing that. So you have a historic figure in him, the Minority Business Development, Minority Contractors Association that he gave birth to is great. So I'm just celebrating the moment of community coming together and creating the kinds of capacities that we need for businesses to thrive. So we're excited at LCCC to be a part of it. We want to bring technology, we want to bring other resources to the table.
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of that from LCCC in the past, so we have high expectations for having you as a part of this partnership. So Dean Moradian, in terms of the university as a procurement entity and as a great partner in this project, what role do you see in terms of equity and inclusion from the university side?
Well, you've asked me to focus specifically on the procurement, and I think that's exciting news. I hope that there will be exciting news. Yvonne's been instrumental, and One West's been instrumental in prompting us to look at how we procure. We're about $1 billion enterprise right here in the city, and we should be making proactive investments in sourcing from minority-owned enterprises, and especially in the trades and construction and architecture. So Yvonne and I have been having a conversation. We're going to be standing up something called Vendor U to give firms the expertise, the perspective, and the tools to bid on university procurement and projects. And a lot of that is in the construction trades. So that's an active, ongoing project that will hopefully come to fruition very soon. But it grew immediately as we recognized that we also need to do things. First of all, we need to be thinking about how you break up our projects so that they are accessible to a diverse group of businesses to bid against, and we're working on that. So we'll be educating ourselves. How do we do this better? And then we will have this, we've been calling it Vendor U. The Commonwealth of Kentucky already has some of the tools that we'll bundle. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. And then finally, we are exploring the viability of having goals for percentages and portions of our work that are directed towards minority-owned businesses. So you asked me to address procurement specifically. I don't want to be the one that takes credit for it. If there was an individual, it's Yvonne. She came up to campus when you could still have a meeting where you were all in the same room, and she challenged us, and One West has partnered with us, and we're going to be doing these things to make it to make our contracts more amenable to a diverse set of bidders to take the work, to make our policies specific about the composition of the vendors that we want, and to trade and also to make sure that we are training those businesses then to bid against that. But I also, just very quickly, I know we're out of time, but I want to follow up on all of the things that you all are doing at One West, Emily and Yvonne and all the people that brought this wonderful seminar together. We want to partner much more broadly than just how do you do business with the university. We are an education institution, and by the way, you own us. I mentioned that earlier. We intend to be there walking along as your partner and putting on the seminars. There's things that are outside my expertise. I do know which end of the hammer to grab, but after that I get in trouble in the construction trades. But I know how to put on seminars, and I've got a faculty that can teach all of the tools. Bobby represents entrepreneurship, but we can talk about accounting, and we can talk about finance, and we can talk about project management. And we're going to be there to help put on seminars through One West and through the plan room to make sure that the skill sets being provided to, our vision is that you talk about legacy disadvantages, and we want to be part of the solution. It's because of our values. It's because of the pragmatics of it. We want to be part of a city where everybody's embraced, celebrated, and invested in. And we have the people to teach the seminars, to give the people the skills. That's our business. We don't build buildings. We build people for the future and help them achieve their aspirations. And Yvonne and I have a whole list of the seminars that we'll be helping stand up.
Well, that's fantastic. And we are so glad to have your partnership on the plan room and on many other initiatives, including working on the procurement policies at the university. So I'm going to pass the floor over to our president and CEO, Ms. Yvonne Smith. We did have several audience questions come in, and I believe we've answered those in writing in the Q&A and in the chat. So we will also be taking audience questions at the end of the second panel. So please do feel free to keep the questions coming, and I'll pass the floor over to Ms. Yvonne.
Thank you all so much. This is exciting. I can't tell you all to be at the cusp of this again and knowing how it can really be a success in the long run is just so exciting to me, because when we did our first panel, you all remember, or many of you were on it, but you remember we talked with North Carolina contractors and just kind of got their experience and understood how they have evolved and some of the things they thought were critical to helping them move forward. This is it. It's not about any one individual. It's about this kind of collective coming together. And Kevin will tell you, I have worn him out trying to make sure that we were partners in this, because you have to have that wisdom from the community at the table as you try to move forward. In my mind, Donovan is the youth. I mean, he is the transfer. And so for us to be working collaboratively and have the youth at the table is critical. And Mr. Hilliard, I'm just bowled over by the work that you've done, and that you've left such a legacy already. To still have you leaning in and sharing knowledge is going to be phenomenal. But I also want to say, probably the person whose nerves I've gotten on the most is Carl Braisley. But Carl knows this inside and out, and he is such a tremendous force of knowledge that I run Carl down about, we got to do this. We got to do this together. We need to be on the same team. You know, we are constantly trying to work it through, because anything that's worth having is worth the work. And I can tell you all that people who need this need us to be collaborating at this level. So for U of L to just put its time, talent, and energy into this, it says something huge about us as a community. And then to have a private company lean in the way KPFF is. I mean, KPFF has come to the table and said, listen, we're going to make sure you have computers. We're going to make sure you have the location secured. We're going to make sure. They are serious about making this happen. And, you know, that doesn't happen until it's the right time, the right place, and the right people. So I just want to thank everyone. And Eddie, I don't want to say it wrong, but I think it was the first conference that made you say, hey, listen, we got to pull this thing together. You and John got together and said, we got to create this association. It's time. And you're running your own business, but you understood the need to make sure you wrapped around others who have needs and that we collaboratively work together. And he keeps saying to me over and over, make sure the labor force is a part of these projects, that we're not just at the contracting side of this whole thing. We got to make sure the labor force is there. And I have to just give a plug to the Urban League, because they're doing the training for the individuals. So we need to make sure those individuals have a place to land, that the companies, we're going to raise awareness with all the companies we deal with, but then all of the owners of projects, that the labor force, we want West Louisville at the table, folks. We want you to be looking at West Louisville for your labor force. And if we need wraparound services in terms of social services and other things, we want those partners to come to the table, because we want to make sure our folks can stay on those jobs and they can feed their families. My kids say this, they say, we got to all eat, Mom. We got to all eat. And that means we have to all be successful. Of course, they have to translate stuff for me. So now I use that term all the time. We have to all eat. And I believe in that, and I think it's important. And that is the reason that One West is here. They saw the need, they spoke with the community, and the community was very emphatic. They want to be a part of the solution. The West End community wants to be a part of anything that is positively moving in that economic ecosystem. So I thank you all for being a part of this. And I'm going to move into the questions. Donovan and I are going to be asking the next panel questions. Anybody that's not on the Minority Contractors Association that would like to go ahead and block out, we thank you so much for participating today. And we will go into panel 2.
Thank you for having us. You can see Bobby's already at an event that I have to go to, so I have to step away. But we're here to work with One West and with all of you. We really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Dee.
Having us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We want to say happy birthday to Kevin Fields' wife. We are so thankful and grateful that she allowed him to be with us today. So we're putting that out in the broadcast. Happy birthday, Mrs. Fields.
Yeah, and she gave me permission to stay on until noon, so I'm going to ride it out with you.
Thank you. All right, here we go. First question we want to ask Eddie Dunn and John Hilliard. Just tell us how the association came about.
I'll let age before beauty go here. So, John.
Hey, well, you know, from my perspective, when we were working on the Ollie Center, we could see the need for it back then. We made an attempt to try to bring people together at the time, but we were still struggling as individuals. We reached out and went to some of the other associations to try to gain their experience. We actually went to San Diego and met with the folks out there, Abdul Rahim and his folks, and actually participated in some of the events and what was going on there. The problem, as I saw it, was that we have enough people here to contribute significantly to every project that happens in the city. And I noticed that a lot of the people that were working and had been contracted on the project before I came in were being brought from other locales, as far away as Atlanta, North Carolina, you know, Ohio and Indiana. It just, you know, really set me aback that we had people here on the sidelines watching this happen. And part of it is because we did not have enough oomph at the table to say, hey, we want to participate when we get here. Me being an out-of-towner at the time, you know, it didn't hit as hard as it does now, me being a 15-year veteran of Louisville. So Eddie was involved in that from the beginning, and we had many others that were involved in that from the beginning. And now we're sitting back and continuing to see this, and it's time, and I consider Eddie one of the younger set there. He's gonna help make this happen. And we need to bring this together so that the people that are trying to live and work here have an ample and sufficient opportunity to work. It's kind of like the young person said a while ago, everybody needs to eat. Well, you know, there's plenty of food on the table, it's just not enough plate settings. So we need to make sure that there's enough plates, knives and forks so that we can all get in there and carve off a little bit. Back to you, Eddie.
All right. I think you covered a lot there, but I'm going to be short and sweet on this. You know, I met John at the Ollie Center project. Big brother looked out and you know, exposed some shortcomings that I had as a contractor. So it basically became a mentor opportunity for John, and a mentor protege opportunity for, and John had no skin in the game outside of his project and so on. So we decided to launch this association amongst some other contractors. And I think one of the issues back then was we was short-sighted. We were looking at, we had some major projects coming into town, the arena and the bridge project, and felt like we were going to organize for those projects, and we didn't look beyond that. So the change with this organization is that we want to become an institution in the construction community, and we feel like that we have to look bigger than a couple projects. You know, instead of being opportunists, we need to be an institution here so we can pass the torch on, mentor, and expand the economic potential of minority contractors.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I would like to direct a question to Tiandre Sistrom. You've been in a variety of fields from architecture to construction, and even sitting on the board of directors of an affordable housing organization, River City Housing. Do you see Louisville as a market which would welcome Minority Contractors Association, given your experience in the field?
Yeah, Yvonne, I do think that the city of Louisville will welcome a Minority Contractor Association. And as I prepare to partner with Eddie and John on this, we're going to make sure that they welcome it. But we got to change the conversation from welcoming it to prioritizing it, right? Because by prioritizing it, that means they're going to put resources behind it and support us in a major way. Our city's always welcomed minority businesses, minority associations. But what we need right now is them to put leaders and processes in place that will partner with us in the right ways. So therefore, expanding not only our reach within the city, but then also ensuring that we get a seat at the table when projects come out as an association, and then also promoting us as a major city association within. And once again, it's not about welcoming, it's all about prioritization.
That is a good point. I will also say, just as the dean talked about, we are having a conversation at a different level regarding each institution looking at how they are letting projects and how they are being inclusive from the ownership standpoint. Well, that does not preclude that they cannot hire a firm like a 7 p.m. to work with the actual design team and the GC to ensure on every level that the project gains inclusion. And 7 p.m. is going to be critical in our community because they're going to be able to say very honestly to our small businesses, listen, if you're not ready for this particular job right now, let us take you to some jobs you are ready for. So if your capacity is not there, it's worse to get on a job and do a bad job than it is to get on a small job that you can handle and do a great job. The Resource Center is going to really try to make sure people have the tools by which they can grow themselves. But when you get, as an owner, working with a particular job, you know, there are groups like, 7 p.m. that can actually make sure things happen in the right way. And I think the association is a great place for groups like 7 p.m. to pull people from, to say, hey, listen, we've got opportunities. Will you all go ahead and put bids in so we can help get you, opportunities on these jobs? I want to ask Eddie, do you see that as a positive strategy, or do you see that having folks that these owners can work with, do you see that as a detrimental, or do you see it as a positive?
In what, I'm sorry, what reference do you?
In terms of making sure that you have someone working on these jobs to ensure the inclusion happens at every level. And I'm including design, GC, supply side, labor force. I mean, I think it is important. I'm having conversations with owners at one level, but I think that the association is a place where people who are on these jobs, a lot of companies like to say, oh, we've got a diversity person, right? That diversity person tends not to know how do you staff a job all the way through to gain a high level of minority inclusion. And then oftentimes that minority or diversity person doesn't have direct access to the leadership team. The leadership team with the owner is critical. So what I'm saying is, when you put a person in a diversity position, but you don't give them power, that's where we lose. So if you have somebody, if the association has somebody like a 7 p.m. on that job, making sure they're able to look at every single level of inclusion opportunity, that makes the job much more impactful for the MBE community. And I'm just, in my mind, I'm just asking, how do you all look at it as an association? Do you see it as critical? Do you see it as detrimental? I'm really trying to understand how you all look at it.
Yeah, as you know, I constantly say make sure the workforce is there. That's for two things. One, if you don't know, there's a shortage of labor in the construction industry that we feel that minorities can definitely help in many trades. I know Corona has impacted some of the numbers, but over prior to Corona, there's just a lot of mention of shortage of minority contractors, shortage of overall workforce. And we have a very low representation in workforce and construction as minority labor. So we feel like we can help that shortage there with the shortage overall in labor. And of course, working with 7 p.m. and One West, I feel like it's a perfect collaboration because we can go out and do what we need to do as contractors. We still want that voice because, people can speak for us, but if you're not in the business, you don't know the ins and outs and what capacities and things like that people can do. But we do want to work with those who are going to monitor and who are going to help kick down the door for us, or open the door. I don't want to say kick down the door, but open the door for us with some of these procurement folks. And we're going to be pursuing alongside of you guys. We do have a voice, and we have numbers, lots of numbers in place of minority contractors. It will only help 7 p.m. and other organizations say, hey, here they are, because that's what you hear quite often is, where are they? And what are their qualifications? I'm meeting minority contractors every day on these Zoom meetings that I never heard of before, okay? Because we're not, and that's the other purpose of the association, is to organize this database and make it public, make it accessible to all. We don't need to hide this database. We don't need it for any other purpose to promote minority contractors to be seen, to be heard, and to get more work.
Absolutely. I want to ask, and I appreciate that. One of the things I'm trying to put forth is diversity officers at these companies need help, and they need access to the C-suite in order to be able to get to all the pieces to work together. If you have an outside firm helping to bring people to the table, that outside firm has to know the capacity of the contractors or the subs at the same time that they understand the scope of the project. And I've operated at every single level, so I know kind of where I'm headed with this. We've got to bring the diversity folks the kind of talent and energy that they need and the right people. At the same time that the association is growing, the association is an association of members. We want to make sure that those members can be successful and that they go after the jobs that they have the capacity to do. And I think that is so important. And then we also have to be thinking, how do we help grow them to the next level? And as you all do more education, networking, and things of that nature, we definitely want to be a partner with you in that. You said you're meeting more and more companies that you didn't know about. Are these companies with past experience, or do you see them more as new companies that are just getting started?
I think it's a combination that I've met, fairly new to some folks that I just didn't know were in the business, or maybe they took a break and they're back, they're launched. I actually met a contractor that lives in my neighborhood, and we're going to meet. He is not certified yet, but he's doing some work here. But we actually live in the same neighborhood and met through a common friend. So, there's potential opportunity that I want to introduce him to, along with John Hilliard, so that, if he's interested in this opportunity, he's prepared to know what it's going to take to perform on this opportunity. So, and I just met him as of last week. So we've got to have some platform or a database where we all know that where we can be found and seen. And yeah, we're still going to miss, but at least if our marketing effort is great and we're continuing to put that out there that, hey, this association exists, we will attract, people will migrate to us. And we will, like I said, we will work with all parties involved on this call to ensure that minority contractors are seen and heard.
Thank you. And Donovan, you started over a year ago with Young Entrepreneurs. Tell us a little bit about what you saw at the table with regard to companies that were in construction or development and they wanted to advance. What did you hear at the table, and what makes you think the the association might be impactful?
I mean, this is a great legway into that. I think that the association would be so impactful for that. From our group working with the Young Entrepreneurs Committee, is that oftentimes it was that particular of where can I connect to the opportunity. And I think that's one big thing where we have been successful and gathering a lot of these local businesses to be attracted to the committee was the fact that of finding a place where I can connect to resources and opportunity that I can expand my business. And I think that, and that has been fruitful from that point. I think this is kind of where this work is deriving. I think it would be most beneficial as we see that we have the people out there. We have the capacity. We just don't have the connectivity. And I think that is where we're missing a lot. And I think that this can serve as a great purpose of really taking this, getting to the grassroots, to the corporate level, and making that mix to get that connectivity there. And I think this is awesome.
Fantastic, fantastic. And we appreciate you, Donovan, because you really have been diligent working for over a year with young entrepreneurs and really trying to dissect and lead One West into how we can provide services for the different groups in a meaningful way. And you're not just a board member, you're a serious worker bee. So we appreciate you. I also want to just ask a question of Kevin. Kevin, with the LCCC being a place where people can locate their businesses, and you think about the association, how can the association and LCCC work collaboratively together to help business owners or help the contractors that are members or desire to be members know that you have individual small spaces where they may be able to locate?
Yeah, well, first I'll note that we have 2 contractors that already have space with us. And I think the process, Yvonne, is John and Eddie and I and a few others can get together and just share our visions and come together. You know, we can make space available, you know, from as small as an office cubicle, just as a place to have a pop-in, you know, place to have some infrastructure for office space. But we also have well-defined office space if we want to set up a longer-term relationship. So I think it would start with that. And then the other thing too is, you know, in this COVID-19 pandemic environment, most of what everybody, like we're doing today, is being done virtually. So we're doing a lot of virtual services so we can connect with the association to do some additional community engagements with you guys, with the plan room, as well as with the association. If I can, Yvonne, I wanted to plug an initiative, a new initiative that we're launching next month that really hopefully will add value to the contractor network that we're reaching through the plan room. We're doing a webinar series. Technology is the focus. We're touching on subjects like analytics, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity. These are all trending topics, and we're working with the University of Louisville, the Center for Digital Transformation. So we got an 8-part series that launches beginning September 1. The marketing promos will start the 1st of this week. But I just wanted to mention that because it's just another way for the association and others to connect with resources that are already afoot. And I think that's the whole point that you're making with the question, is that there are resources that are available to contractors and other businesses, and we're just looking to make those connections.
Thank you. Eddie,
Yvonne,
yes.
I wanted to interject real quickly. I'm just so excited about, you know, the conversation there, but especially to have some of the younger brothers on like Tiandre and Donovan, you know, because that's who you really want to be involved. So, you know, they can kind of take it out farther, you know, so it's one thing, some of us old heads who've been around for a while, you know, but man, to see the young brothers and sisters on the questions and everything else. So I'm just really excited and encouraged that, you know, hopefully that, you know, this is the beginning of really that transfer of knowledge and that integration of opportunity. And really, I mean, we've talked about this before, you know, we learn more from them probably than we impart to them. So,
Right.
you know, the young brothers and sisters, man, like, you know, just hope they continue to speak out with, you know, their boldness and their freshness of ideas, you know, the diversity of opportunities. And, you know, I heard it spoken of about not knowing where they are. Well, a lot of them are our young brothers and sisters who are developing these new companies and opportunities, and they just need to be seen and have some access. And that's one of the things that I'm excited that the plan room can do. And so, you know, I just kudos to everybody. I just want to give that real quick. So.
Thank you, Carl. I just, I want to use my, for this last question, I want to also use my seniority as an old head to just say, if you're sitting in a seat of leadership anywhere in the city and you're not inviting young people to your table, you are hindering and stifling our future growth. You have got to invite young people to the discussion. They're smart, they're intelligent, and they're capable of moving the needle. We will not be around forever. We cannot hold on to these seats and feel as if young people threaten our ability to control everything. Young people add value, and we have to encourage them to come to the table and learn. Multiple races add value. We have to learn from each other and share resources and begin to work on solutions together. That's how we move the needle. We have to be able to come with our own ignorance so that we can educate one another and begin to learn together collaboratively and grow this city. Let me just tell you, I've seen it happen. If you all didn't see Charlotte 25 years ago, you would have no idea how people were able to plug in and be extremely progressive and prosperous as a result of them leaning in collectively. We used to say in North Carolina that the city of Mecklenburg County, because they began growing so strong and so fast, they just plowed past everybody. But it's because they got a collective approach to how they were going to move their city forward. So I know we can do it here. My last question, Eddie, is to just ask you, how do people become members of the association? What should they do? How do they find out more about the association? Where should they go? Can you just let them know that for a minute?
Sure. I mean, they can reach out to either John, myself, or Tiandre. You know, at the current status is it's about ready to be filed with the state as an organization. So, you know, we're not 100% official, but we're right there. I would imagine within the next week, I think we had some individual meetings with some of the officers, and then next week we'll get together as officers and go over the goals and bylaws and so on and so on. So, you know, we want all those interested parties now to reach out to us. I'm hoping that you guys can share your email, you know, and we'll share what the goals are and the objectives. I think you've heard a lot of those on this call, you know, so, but we have to also decide, you know, what do we need economically to support this organization? You know, there might be some small annual fee because we want to make things happen. Like Tiandra said, we want to make this a priority, and we're going to need some technology, and we're going to need a little bit of marketing. So, you know, those are things that we're going to figure out, but we don't want that to be a hindrance to anyone that wants to get involved in the organization. You know, so those are things that we're going to be discussing over the next week or so. You know, what are we going to need to fulfill our goals and what we want to do as an organization and for our membership.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to close out with just letting you all know that we are looking forward to the next session in October, the next conference. We're going to focus on procurement and financing. So we just want you all to stay tuned for that, because we are bringing Kelly Watson with MSD to the table to have some real frank discussions around procurement. We'll be bringing U of L back to discuss procurement opportunities. We're going to talk with Greg and his team, KPFF, more about the BIM program. We're going to keep you all posted on how to get plugged in. Stay tuned. We're moving this minority business enterprise ship forward, and we want you all to be a part of it. Thank you all, and have a great rest of your day.
Yvonne?
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure that our contact information is going to be shared. Can I get a confirmation on that?
Absolutely. We'll be sending that out along with the link to the webinar recording. We typically have it up within a week after the webinar, so it shouldn't be too long.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you to the One West Board. You all are amazing. Nikki Lanier, everybody, have a great day.